Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I saw 6 movies, I want more.
And I'm Gary, and today we're going to review and discuss Saw 6, which released in 2009 from writers Patrick Melton and Marcus Dunstan and directed by Gavin Greutert. Iain, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, following on from Saw 5 and the death of Agent Strom, Costas Mandylor, playing Detective Hoffman, is still continuing his little soiree as being the new Jigsaw killer while also trying to hide from all the investigations going on within his department. We see a group of new players being put into a game, being led by William Easterton, who is the head of an insurance company and has to make his way through the traps and try to save as many people as he can.
It's impossible to tell whether they have what it takes to survive.
So this sixth installment also continues the decline in box office earnings for the franchise.
Oh, yeah.
This one being the lowest earning one again at this point, earning only a paltry 68 million. Considering its relatively small budget, it was shot relatively quickly.
Yeah.
Even so, when they were getting ready, I think a week before production started on this one,
Yeah.
the studio turned around and went, yeah, 3D this one, please. And they went, hey, wait a minute. We're start shooting next week. We ain't got time for that.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, well, we'll do it in post-production. Oh, when's the film going to be in cinemas? Oh, actually, we don't have time for that either.
No.
All right, well, next one's going to be 3D.
One. Yeah.
Definitely.
Because horror movies in 3D work.
Exactly. Well, I want saws flying at my face, Ian. I want to feel the heat.
No, you don't.
But this also marks the departure of the previous directors, but also continues the Saw legacy in terms of behind-the-scenes sort of crew members moving up the ladder into new positions. So
Yeah.
the editor of all the previous Saw movies now becomes the director for this one.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing Saw 6 in the theaters. It was still relatively busy. They still had a good Saw buzz about it. And I always kind of remembered this one fondly as sort of being the end of the second trilogy within Saw.
Yeah, well, I think the next one is the proper end.
It is. It feels like this one could have been the end, even though it carries on. And I think it was also the fact that, just like most of the other previous Saw films, they wrote multiple endings.
Yeah.
They filmed multiple endings and then decided when editing, which would be the ending.
Yeah. I remember seeing the trailer for this one, and it was the merry-go-round that really caught my eye, where I was like, oh, fuck, you've really gone above and beyond now with the numbers of people that you're trying to throw into these traps. And I'll be honest, I didn't actually go and see it in the cinema. I think because around about this time, my son was being born. I was still, like I said in the previous review, my wife was pregnant, and so I was still kind of iffy about taking her outside with the whole Cecil situation. I was just like, let's just at least get the baby here, and then at least I can go back onto my life and start doing what I want to do.
Sorry, I just want to say there's also, I think, one other very valid reason why this Saw movie may have not as earned as much.
Yeah.
And that was because there was a new heavy swinger in horror just arrived in cinemas, bringing back that found footage vibe with Paranormal Activity, which, as we know, would also continue the Saw's trend of yearly installments for 6 years. So, I think that may have hurt Saw in the long run here.
Well, I also think as well, I mean, we are on the 6th film in the series, and it was going to start to die over time, and we were really incredibly lucky to get what we had, stemming from say 2 and 3 and all that up to where we are now. And so I honestly just looked at the film, and part of me looked at the trailer and was like, you know what, I kind of wish they weren't making any more. I kind of wish it would just die, because my experience with horror franchises, they end up start to become boring and samey and ropey. I mean, Jesus Christ, look at Halloween. We finally got a fucking new one, and then you killed it after 2 fucking movies. Not gonna go there just yet. But I was excited. I was just like, you know what? I'll wait for it to come out on DVD. I got my little box set with all 5 movies, and then I got the 6th one on DVD. So I watched all of them back to back to get me up to date with this newest one, and then like I said, we've got Costas Mandylor starting up his little soiree, because he starts the movie, in the box. We've just seen Agent Strom get crushed. The end of the last games ended, and Strom is just a pile of mush in this room.
I love when the walls come back and you can just see the mess that's left. It's still dressed.
Yeah, it's still
it just
still
drops.
Just drops.
It makes that sound. I was like, oh, that's gross and wonderful.
And Hoffman, Costas Mandylor, you know, he stepped out of the cage and he's kind of smiling, you know, because he's actually gotten rid of
all the agents that were hunting him down.
That were hunting him down. But, you know, at the same time, part of me feels sad because, like, Strom was our hero for the last movie, kind of, and now he's dead. So we've got no more heroes, and so this movie literally just follows Hoffman.
Well, we do still have one survivor from the previous movie,
right.
And that is Drake.
Yes, we do.
It's Detective Erickson. He's still on the hunt for Jigsaw.
Yeah.
But the film opens as well, though. Actually, I just want to go back to continuity issue.
Yeah.
I like to point out with the film is that in the previous film we saw Hoffman in that glass case get splattered in blood. It covered his whole face, you know. And then in this movie, this next one, Saw 6, the blood kind of stops at his neck, and then the thing that really makes you laugh is that when, like, the blood is fresh, right? And blood is, like, liquid.
Yeah.
In the scene where he opens the coffin lid,
it doesn't even
move. Blood doesn't even move. It's just dried on there. I was just like, oh my God, like, you've just double whammied, you know, your continuity right there. But it's like, it's fine. It goes fast. You're more interested in seeing Hoffman and what he does next. And we've jumped right into a new Saw trap as we have these. We have this large man and this lady opposite sides of this room, and they're told to how much flesh would they give to stay alive? How much, you know, to give their pound of flesh. And I love the big guy. He's just like, right, I'm going to start cutting off my love handles.
Yeah.
And I love it's pretty much a comedy shot where, I mean, she's quite athletic. She's very fit looking. She pulls up her top.
Yeah,
she's like, I've got no fat. What the fuck am I going to do? And she's looking at all of these surgical equipment. It's a bloody butcher's knife.
It is. It's just
like
a small knife and a big knife.
I'll just start cutting. Meanwhile, the guy's on his second roll, like flop. So I'm going to get you, bitch.
And they've got those little vices attached to their brain, into their head. So you just know that when the trap goes off, they're just going to get fucked up.
Now, I think it's because, like, Saw 5, it's still in my mind with the guy with his hand in the blade. His reaction, his scream, I think, is, like, next to the rack guy.
Yeah.
I think are the two most, like, powerful visual screams of them actually in traps. But whenever she was cutting off her arm, it didn't quite gel with me, and I think it was mainly down to the comical nature of when she realizes she's out of time. She grabs the bigger knife and she just starts hacking, and she hacks like 10 times, and the music is all wrapped up in it. And for me, it bordered on farcical and comedy because it was just so over the top, but it was one hell of a way to start the movie.
Well, it was like what you said about the editing for the previous movies, where it's all the quick cuts and the speeding around, you know, and it's like, oh, you got 20 seconds left, but we're going to speed around for a minute, make that 20 seconds seem like the longest part of your life. And it was the same with her. This guy's like cutting himself, like, throwing bits in, and the shots are going all over the place. And I was kind of sat there watching it. I was like, I can kind of see what Gary was saying. This is kind of samey, you know, and going with the guy who's edited the last movies, he's basically taken his ideas of what worked for the previous movies and decided to, you know, stick them in and work with them himself. And so then when you're watching her and she's just like, hack, 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 runs all the way over, drops this arm in there, which is rubber looking as fuck, you know, and then it hits the weight and it goes to the other side. And so the guy dies and he gets drilled in the head.
Yeah.
And she gets freed. Now, like weirdly enough, that will actually pay off in the next movie, which I thought was kind of cool, because a lot of the times you see these traps happen and yeah, well, I mean, we saw it in number 4, but we still didn't understand why the lawyer was there. You know, he's just all over the place. So the film has literally just hit us again with a trap at the start, hit us with Strom's death, Hoffman doing his thing. He's been met up with, you know, Agent Erickson, who's like, oh yeah, we're still looking for Strom. All the evidence is pointing to him being a killer, but you just know there's something about Mark Rolston's face in this movie that just makes him look at Hoffman like,
Yeah,
I don't buy it.
Yeah, all of the mannerisms, like the film is trying to let you know as an audience that everyone that is still alive suspects Hoffman. They give him the sideways glances, they give him that knowing look, like
Uncomfortable,
say something
yeah.
incriminating, Hoffman.
Yeah.
Oh, but you're too clever. You're not going to fall for that. So, but at the same time, the film also goes. Because if you watch the previous films, the police force in all the movies are absolutely moronic. They are so stupid, and they can only point the dots when the dots are there, with a crayon for them to figure it out and make the picture.
It's funny you say that. I'm thinking, like, this is the sixth movie in this franchise. You could have at least tried to make the police department somewhat of a kind of character in this movie, because in this fucking series.
But they definitely are trying.
They definitely.
But they are failing
massively, because you've literally killed what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 police officers over the course of 6 movies, and Mark Rolston's still walking around like it's all right. Like this mass murdering serial killer in whatever city that we're in has killed all these cops, but it's okay.
With the amount of murders that Jigsaw's inflicted, right? Like in all the movies, whenever there's a TV on in the background, there's a news presenter going, "There's been another Saw killing. Jigsaw strikes again." It's like it's on every TV forever, and yet. Where's the mob? Like going after the mayor? Like, where get this motherfucker raised?
It's literally the police department and the warehouses. That's it.
And you still get people that wake up in traps and go, "Where am I? What's going on? Who the F is Jigsaw?" I'm like,
yeah, it's like,
for real?
Where the fuck did you live the last fucking 5 movies? But a lot of this movie as well is fed with information leading on from the previous movies. And so while we are following Willie Measterton's character, played by Peter Outerbridge, in his first startup trap, like he's got the mask on his mouth, his knees hung up on the walls and stuff, and it's all fed with flashbacks. Now, what I always really liked was how you kind of built up the history of John Kramer, even though he was dead. He's one of the first mass murdering serial killer, psychopathic, whatever you want to call him, depending on where your stance is with his attitude towards people. He's the only person I know who's actually got a history, an actually standing story, reasons of why he's doing it. I mean, if you can compare him to Jason drowned, and his mother went on a killing spree. Freddy was a fucking pedophile and burned. Michael is just evil incarnate. John Kramer was a normal guy, who just had he just didn't like certain things that went on in the world. And then his son was killed. He lost most of his, passion in life. He tried to commit suicide, and now he's come back, and he's just... What would you say he's evil?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Like Michael Myers evil?
I think he's evil because he tries to defend himself with a moral code to make it feel like he's not actually doing anything wrong, and he's helping people. I'm like, it's bullshit, John.
That's something that would have been nice if we'd seen it in the city.
He's not inherently evil.
If any of the crime rate had dropped down. Like, it would be nice if, like, one of the police officers was like, "Well, we should give John Kramer more criminals because look at the crime rate statistics have dropped down." None of that happens. And so you are caught in this moral standpoint of looking at John Kramer going, "Oh, he's a murdering psychopath." Well, if we knew what the city was like, we'd maybe understand a bit more.
I will say for this one, considering in the early films, I felt sorry and sympathy for the characters in the traps, since that's how I rooted for them to get out.
Yeah.
As the film series has gone on, I'm like, I hate all of you.
Yep.
You're all horrible people.
Yep.
And I want to see you die.
Yeah.
And then this film this film turns that dial up some more and goes, look how scummy all these people are in their office. Look how smug that they are, that they're ruining other people's lives. They don't even care. You're just a statistic to them so that they can get promoted and get lost up their boss's arsehole. And so I'm like, when these all are in traps, I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because I was thinking about it. Like, this is 2009, so a lot of the world hadn't changed to the way that it is now.
Pre-Obamacare for Americans as well, so it's kind of relevant.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of this stuff I felt is really relevant. You know, we don't like the insurance companies because they take all of our money and then they don't pay us out when something bad happens. You know, we hate all the people who take, you know, like John Kramer says, who take advantage of the Medicare system so that they can just get all the free drugs that they can and just keep not caring about their lives. So part of me is like, this guy works for an insurance company. He's bad. And so we're just going to pile so much stuff on him that you are going to want him dead in this movie, which I think is cool, because as a horror movie, if you didn't have that mentality as you walked in a horror movie, it's going to be a pretty shit fucking horror movie.
It's an inverted horror movie where you actively root for the protagonist to die, you know, and you root for the villain at this point.
But that happens in Jason as well. We done it. I think we did it in 5 or 6, where we were like, we just wanted to watch him machete people.
I do, but I also root for Tommy Jarvis, you know.
Yeah, true. I still feel bad for those paintballers in the forest who just got fucking
triple decap.
But we were saying this, Gary and I were discussing the people that are involved in these traps in this movie, of where the standing is. And so it kind of gets a bit confusing. So Jigsaw made this trap.
Jigsaw, as we find out, Jigsaw planned all of this, and he needed this trap all of this to occur after he had died, because he was denied the insurance that would have paid for optional healthcare. And so now that he's dead, and then when he turns up on the video, because this is a surprise to see actually Jigsaw on the video, explaining,
Tobin,
and he also needs to be there to go, hey, you remember me? I'm the guy that you denied insurance to, and I'm dead now. Think about that while you're in this trap. Bye.
Yeah, because this insurance guy, Mr. Easterton, he's got this kind of equation that he constantly uses.
The formula. It's
a magical formula that he works out if people can actually pay the insurance premiums that they're going to charge them, which are going to obviously be extortionate because they are all rich and shit. And when he applies that formula to Tobin Bell, John Kramer, when they're talking, because Easterton's involved in the clinic as well, you know, with Jill Tuck too. And so Kramer's just like, hang on a minute, your equation doesn't work for normal people who don't fall under that. How does that work? And Easton's like, well, we just don't bother. And so you're sat there, you don't want to, but you kind of go with Kramer like, oh yeah, this guy's bad. He's just taking the money, screwing over people's lives. He doesn't care. And weirdly enough, like, my mentality with this movie when I first watched it was like, oh yeah, all these people are bad. They should all die. But as the movie went on and you found yourself in the situations with certain people, like this first trap that Easterton's in, he's in this mass trap opposite the cleaner that cleaned his office, who is smoked for 30 to 40 years of his life, obviously doesn't have the lung capacity to be able to breathe on this trap. And so as an experienced Saw watcher, you're like, well, the fucking cleaner's dead.
Exactly.
This man has continued to smoke even though he has a history of high blood pressure and heart disease. This demonstrates very little appreciation for the blessings of his own life.
So Jigsaw has put this guy in this trap with there's like 0 chance he's going to survive. We can tell he's not going to be able to hold his breath, considering he's a lifelong smoker with health issues.
Yeah.
He doesn't deserve to be in the trap. When you compare all the other people that have woken up in Saw traps, there's millions of smokers around the planet.
Now, I get that. And actually, we were talking about this before. So now I'm honestly thinking about it, right? 2 things for Mr. Easterton. First off, I'm pretty sure Jigsaw mentions about his formula not working for the cleaner.
Yeah.
And so the cleaner is going to die by Easterton's formula.
Yeah.
At the same time, if Easterton had died here, everybody else would have been let out.
Yeah, right. I know. It's pretty amazing.
I've just thought of that.
They'd be sat on that merry-go-round for like hours.
Yeah, exactly. But they'd have been let out. If Easterton had allowed himself to die in this trap to allow the cleaner to live, everybody else would have probably have survived. But Easterton decides that, no, I want to live.
Yeah.
So I'll hold my breath longer than the cleaner.
Which is probably easy enough to do.
Because
my in-universe explanation as to why the cleaner is there is that, like, Hoffman, like, in the pig suit, whatever, we don't really see it. I mean, there's that ridiculous scene where the security guard walks in the office, like...
Oh, yeah, he gets shot!
He gets shot by William, and then William gets taken out by the pig person. I was like, wow, that was horribly staged. The security officer didn't say a word.
He should have had a torch, you know?
I hated that. That was awfully done. It was just like, well, quick, we need to get get William captured. Let's do it.
Yeah.
But that also made me think, well, maybe like, you know, Hoffman's there and he's like, right, oh shit, yeah, we need to put someone else in the first trap. I haven't got anybody.
He's killed the security guard. I'll grab the cleaner.
Yeah, I'll grab the cleaner because he's already there. It's just easier to get them both in one go.
Well, I already said to you though, didn't I? The way the film language was when Easterton was walking around his office, kind of talking to everybody who you are going to see in all the traps. He passes the cleaner doesn't even say anything. He just passes, but the camera lingers on him enough to go, see this face? You're going to see it again.
So yeah, the cleaner gets his ribs crushed. He vomits blood and dies.
Yeah. And we got some kind of red herrings going on because while Easterton's in his trap, he's got like bombs around his arms and ankles
to stop him wandering out.
Yeah, we'll stop it. And for every person or every trap he gets through, he gets a key to get rid of one of these bombs. And we flash to a mum and son who are in their own cage with this big, huge vat of hydrochloric acid. Is it hydrochloric acid? I don't know acid. It's a really, really bad acid. And a switch, live or die. And we've also got the reporter as well. We've seen this reporter walking around.
She was in the previous film.
Yeah, she's been talking to Hoffman about information that she's got on Jill Tuck. She's talking to Jill Tuck about information that she might know about Jigsaw. And so, inadvertently, she ends up in another cage with her own vat of acid.
Yeah, it's just a coincidence, I guess, that Hoffman turned up at Jill's place, managed to capture the reporter, maybe followed her, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I also think that scene between the reporter and Jill was like one of the worst acted scenes in the entire franchise. It was so staged and wooden.
Yeah. Is there something about the actress playing Jill Tuck that she just can't emote?
I don't know. She doesn't sell very much,
she doesn't,
right?
Does she?
It's
like,
very wooden.
The first 2 times that I saw her, I kind of liked her, but the longer it went on, I'm like, girl, try to move your face a bit.
It was also because the film kept cutting back and forth, and I was like, oh, I've lost which one's which now.
Well, the reporter wore glasses.
Yeah, right.
But the whole time as well, Hoffman is wandering around, dropping evidence here and there for Strom.
Now isn't at one point he's already told that there's an inconsistency with the fingerprint DNA, that it's come from a corpse of Strom. Yet towards the end of the film, Hoffman still uses that severed hand to plant fingerprints, and then he sets fire to it all afterwards as well. Like,
I really didn't get it, because it was revealed as well to us that Agent Perez, played by Athena Karkanis, survived the blast to the face from the last movie. And so Strom...
Even though she was dead in the last movie. Because she died 2 movies ago now.
No. We saw her get injured.
Yeah.
And she gets taken to the hospital.
Her hand goes limp in his hand. She gets taken to the hospital.
She might have passed out. Things go limp when you pass out.
But then Strom is in the hospital.
Strom is in the hospital
with
and
a bloody bed.
And she's gone, and Hoffman confronts him and is just like, what happened? Oh, Perez is dead. I want to find Jigsaw. I'm so pissed off, blah, 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 blah. And then this movie, you know, fucking Erickson turns around with Perez in front of Hoffman and goes, oh yeah, we didn't know if we could trust you. She's still alive. She's going to help with the investigation. But now you don't trust us. We totally trust you now, Hoffman. And Hoffman's like, oh. And I'm so confused, like, who's leading who here at the moment?
Well, clearly they don't, because if Perez's last words to Strom was Hoffman, that means Perez pretty much knows it's Hoffman.
Oh yeah, she does.
And that would probably explain the note that, you know, that Hoffman got one time.
In the few shots that we actually see Perez in this movie before the ultimate climax of her, she is so suspicious.
Yeah, she pretty much knows it is. She just can't prove it.
She pretty much might as well just put handcuffs on him and arrest him.
Yes.
But she just, because all the evidence, I mean, and I know it seems stupid, but it also plays well into just movie kind of cop stuff, is that, you know, they know Strom. They've worked with Strom for years. You know, so they know if he was a killer or not. And the previous people in the last movie, Julie Benz and all of her crew, were actually part of an insurance thing that Strom and Perez were actually investigating. So that's how they loosely connect that Strom was involved in that trap, is that he was involved in these, you know, in the investigation to these people. And I'm like, that's not enough to fucking put him in there. Oh, but there's fingerprints of him here at these traps. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? Are you telling me he traveled from wherever he fucking was living all the way to this city that we don't know where the fuck it is, killed a bunch of people to work with Jigsaw, flew all the way fucking back, and then flew all the way back to investigate himself? Yeah. Come on off, man!
I really detest the writing for the police force in most of these Saw films. They really make them look like imbeciles, and things get compounded on here a little bit more with the franchise's own consistency. With the report where they go to see the coroner who's just dissecting another Saw victim, and they're just like, well, interestingly, that this corpse was also was cut up with a serrated blade, just like the one Seth Baxter that we saw at the beginning of Saw 5, the pendulum trap guy.
Yeah.
Which we find out was Hoffman's first kill, which he did to make it look like Jigsaw, and then blah, 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 blah. But then the coroner's just like, but yeah, it was a serrated blade. And I'm like, you know what? We just watched Saw 5. I can tell you right now, let's show the footage, Iain. That's a scalpel,
it's a scalpel
that he's using. And yet this doctor's like, it was a serrated knife, so therefore these two are connected. All eyes on Hoffman. I'm like, so you've just made up some bullshit to make the audience go, yeah, Hoffman bad.
Yeah.
The audience know Hoffman bad, and these guys already suspect Hoffman. So this scene not only is it wrong, it's also entirely pointless. And then we're back at the police office, and Erickson gets a phone call. It's like, oh, remember that tape from 2 movies ago?
Well, no, the tape for Seth Baxter.
Yeah.
We're going to take that and we've
been analysing it. We've been figuring it out. And
which I got to admit is pretty cool. Technology surpassed it, you know, to the point. Like, we've come from Saw 1, where it was literally little shitty tape players, you know, crappy little mobile phones, sitting in a room with chains, to the point where now they can actually take the VHS tapes, put them in, and then, you know, analyze it with their technology to take the voices to find out the voice in the background. I thought that was quite good progression.
Now, I have a lot of problems with this sequence as well. Now, like, because the film is telling you.
Yeah.
Erickson gets that phone call, and he's like, yeah, we're waiting for a phone call from the agents to figure out the voice on the tape. It's our smoking gun!
Yeah.
And he gets the phone call, and straight away he's like, looks at Hoffman.
Yeah, and Hoffman's kind of circling the room
like
as well.
a bloody shark.
And Perez is watching him, and I'm like, this is going to turn into a fucking shootout.
Right, so then they get to there, and the lady's like, well, actually, I haven't figured it out yet, but let me do it now. It'll only take me 5 minutes. I know you've just got here, but I'm actually going to start working on it now.
Yeah, where the fuck is this place? Because they walk downstairs into a basement.
Right. Now I'm like, so this is the trap. Like, Erickson and Perez, they've set this trap. They know they're going to hear Hoffman on that tape. They just need it there. Why bring him in there? Why bring him with them? Like, if they're there and if they even slightly suspect it's him, then therefore you think it's a trap. So therefore, if this was FBI procedure, there would be a SWAT team outside ready to incarcerate him, bring him in if they suspect he is an accomplice to Jigsaw. But they don't.
Bro.
We've
gone 5 movies. They're pretty
just have that stupid, moronic, shocked look on their face like, Hoffman, it was you!
And he slices Erickson's throat, so he's choking to death. He shoots Perez.
No. He chucks hot coffee in Perez's face.
Right,
then he grabs the other assistant. And Perez, who's been brought back for this movie, kills the other officer. And then gets killed. She gets shanked multiple times by Hoffman. I was like, I'm so glad they brought this wonderful Agent Perez back into the franchise.
Yeah. And then Erickson's lying there on the floor, and fucking Hoffman walks around with Strom's hand, which we see as a flashback of the hand hanging in the middle of the room when Strom was crushed. And I'm like,
that's some bullshit right there.
How does a room completely enclose and crush an entire body but leave his hand perfectly in place? I mean, I could get, I suppose, if you had some fingers.
That's all he needed.
But he's literally got the whole hand to the wrist of where he was hanging, and there's no way that the hand would have been able to get out. So he's just going around and he's playing. And that's when Erickson turns around and goes, yes, we found out that Hoffman's hand was already dead. And we're like, oh, you're dead. And he puts a couple of fingerprints down and he sets fire to the room. And I'm like, so, are you in the police department? Are you in some fucking university? Where the fuck are you? The fire department's not even turning up to fucking put this fire out.
Yeah.
I honestly, I know we're going to continue watching them, but I honestly do not believe any of that extra stuff gets brought up. Erickson's death, Perez's death, her death. I don't actually think any of that comes up in the next movie. It certainly doesn't come up in fucking Chris fucking Rock's movie. Get to that one.
I don't want to.
But back to the traps. Anyway, so Easterton has been walking around and he's come across another trap involving I believe it's his receptionist and another one of his co-workers from his office. And Jigsaw basically gives him the message and says, look, I'm going to put these two people in front of you. One of them has to die by utilizing whatever formula you want to do. But the woman has a family and she will be cared for and missed and all that kind of stuff.
But she's old.
She's outside of your criteria. This guy's young. He's healthy. He falls exactly in your formula. But he's a loner and nobody will care. He won't be missed. And so he has to rethink his formula and go, well, actually, loving families and care is what's more important than my formula. So he releases the gentleman and he hangs and dies violently. Because not only does he hang, they smash in front of the window. Oh, God, yeah. And it's barbed wire.
And it's barbed wire, too.
I mean, it's a zoo that they're in, isn't it? It's an old abandoned zoo that they found themselves in.
Yeah.
So but she survives.
Yeah.
And it's just like, hang on a minute, like what's she gonna do? Her hands are tied. Somebody gonna come on and let her go.
I was gonna say, how big is the pit in front of her?
Yeah, like she's so happy that like.
How did they even get them there? Did they lower them down on the on the hanging device? Like
knocked them out.
How did they not fall then?
Oh man, I
questions. I've got some questions.
So many questions. And so he carries on into the next trap, but we're also jumping back as well to Jill. Jill has.
Oh my God! She finally opened the box.
She finally opened her box. She finally found all the envelopes involving everybody that we see inside the game, including the reporter. And she also finds, but we don't know this until a little bit later. But she also finds Hoffman's envelope, and Jigsaw had kind of put Hoffman in a trap when they first met, but had made it implied that you will be tested. This isn't really your trap. This is just to get
initiation.
Initiation, I suppose. Yeah. I will be making sure that you get into a trap. And so Jill sees a video from Jigsaw pre-death where he's just like, look, contents of the box are really important. You might not know now, but it will pay off. Blah, blah, blah. I'll need your help. And like I said, the actress playing Jill Tuck, she just doesn't emote enough to make me feel like, does she care for John? Does she not care for John? Why is she doing this? Other than there's some information that she's been fed that we don't know that makes her go, okay, yes, I'm going to do what Jigsaw's asked. So we're following that. We're following Hoffman. We're following fucking Easterton, and it does get a little bit. It does get a little bit jumbled, but if you have been paying attention through the previous movies, it all kind of lines up.
No, it's jumbled, and in the sense I have the same issue with this film as I had the previous ones. Not the earliest films, where in the first Saw film, there's people trapped, and we get the flashbacks to Tap, who's hunting Saw or Jigsaw, and actually leads up to him trying to get to rescue people.
Yeah.
Saw 2, it's the same. The FBI, the police, they're monitoring the game. They are, one of them's a part of the game, but they're monitoring and trying to rescue the people. So the people in the traps and the police storylines are interconnected the entire time. By like Saw 5 and Saw 6, Hoffman has nothing to do with anyone that's in the traps. Those storylines only interconnect via Hoffman putting poster pictures of them on a chalkboard,
trying to set up Strom again.
And I'm like, but they don't. The stories don't interconnect. They don't mean anything to each other. Hoffman doesn't interact with anyone in these traps, and so they're just two parallel storylines running simultaneously that don't matter to each other like they did in the earliest movies. And so that's why I'm like, it's a mess, because they don't gel together. The film's going, well, we've got to follow the killers and we have to put people in traps. But they don't connect together as well. They connect, but they don't connect as well as they used to. So it doesn't mean as much.
Yeah, in the first one, and this is what made me feel like I shouldn't just keep going to the cinema to watch Saw movies anymore. Was the first one was just so good, so original, so standout, so many questions. But that's what you get with the first movie. You don't want it. As they tried to slap as many sequels as they could, and so quickly as well, one after the other, which was fucking amazing. Partially, you were going to lose some kind of, positivity-ness, I suppose, of this franchise after a while, because it's just eking out as they're trying to do more and more for mass market audiences instead of just a few people who actually want to enjoy a good horror movie. So like I've just remembered as well. This is the one with the fucking heat maze.
Yes.
Oh my god, that
yeah.
was a good one because you kind of want her to get out and you want him to help her. And then as they're moving around and he's burning himself on the steam to allow her to get through, and then she's actually getting burned because he can't get anymore. When she actually finally gets out, she has to kill him.
Well, she doesn't have to kill him. She just turns into a violent maniac with a saw to try to get the key out. Now, granted, she's only got a few more seconds left to live.
That's why she has to kill him, to get this key out of this fucking trap that she's got on her head. And it's just like, whoa, hold on, Jigsaw, fucking too much here. You know, like every one of these traps, it's like you intentionally wanted Easterton to kill himself to save other people. And like I said, the more I keep thinking about it, any time he could have died, he'd have probably saved everybody.
Yeah, but he needs him to get to the end for the final game. So I'm pretty sure.
But he doesn't. He just needs to save himself.
No,
He's only wanted to save himself.
There's nothing that could kill him in any of the traps.
The bombs. He could have crushed.
He could have walked out.
He could have been crushed in the very first one.
It's very unlikely. Like, it's been set up to not fail there.
Yeah, I know. And he could have not done any of that. But like the way that the traps have been set up, it's like you have to do this or you won't get to the next part.
No, he didn't have to save the lore. He could have just walked right on through to the next one.
And the door wouldn't have opened. He needed her to come through. She needed to unlock the door from her side to come through, to realise that she needs the key, which we saw the scar on him.
True, yeah.
He attacks her, she attacks him, and then within the last few seconds of time out, this spike just shoots up through her fucking head and kills her. Which you're like, man, that was pretty badass. You know, I kind of think that that's what the other one was for the lawyer in, 4? You know, we saw the contraption on his back, and then he just gets shot, and you're like, oh, what did that do? I kind of feel like that this one is like a front one.
Yeah.
Hits in the trap. But we do get to one of my all-time favourite fucking traps of the whole Saw series. Continuity, story, acting, all of that shit can just go woo out the window for all I fucking care. When you slap 7 people, I think it is?
6.
6 people,
Yeah.
6 people, you slap 6 people on a fucking merry-go-round with a loaded shotgun in front of them.
4 die, 2 survive. Who do you choose?
I know! This is like Jigsaw going, all of these motherfuckers are gonna die, regardless of what you do.
Please! Reduce the flow of policy!
But he doesn't want any of them to die. You know, you don't want any of them to die. You're not a horrible person. I think they're horrible people. Yeah, I know you do. And so it's going around, and for me, like, I've always had this thing with people and humans that, you know, when shit really hits the fan, that's when you really, really, really see the true person come out. And so all of these people, even though that they were happy-go-lucky work buddies working together to get the most money and for their boss and all that, now they're being faced with death, imminent, proper death for, you know, being horrible, whatever. They're just shitting all over each other. I've got babies. I've got a family to get back to. Oh my, take care of my dad. Don't listen to that fucking bitch. She's fucking... And it's just... I like the way it's filmed. I like the way it's set up. And I know that the payoff is just a bunch of people are going to die. But it's... I may be wrong, but I think this is done tastefully. You know? They could have easily just made it...
Oh, it's a shotgun.
Yeah, but... You look at horror movies that we've had recently where the gore has been so over the top. People have been craving it and calling it maybe the greatest horror movies ever made in it. Jigsaw didn't have to do that. He put literally 6 people on a merry-go-round and put a shotgun in front of them. You see the blast go off, but you don't really see what... You know, the body just keeps going around. And so it's just... intense. And like that final guy, I really enjoyed that final guy's bit where he's just like,
you look at me when you kill me.
Yes. Because he blames Easterton. He doesn't blame Jigsaw. He could have turned to him and gone, this isn't your fault. This is Jigsaw. I don't blame you, blam.
Yeah.
But he hates him. He's just watched 4
I
of
know,
his
it just
buddies
goes to show how horrible these people are right up until the final moment. Now, the thing is, like, the film, like, it is so awfully done.
Right.
Like, Like the film is trying to edit in flashes of these people in the office space, like he's just like, remember me? Like there's a single frame of that guy on the phone, like, hey, remember me? I answered the phone, good.
Yeah.
Don't kill me.
Don't kill
like,
me. We're buddies, right? It's just like, you ain't buddies with your boss. If you and your boss were in a soul trap, your boss is dropping you.
I will say I hated some of the edits here, but the whole set. The thing that I really liked here was the music. The music in this sixth Saw movie, I think, is the best in the franchise to date up until this point. Of course, the classic "Hello Zepp" track is there, but in this film, it's used quite a bit more. But it also kind of has like a rockier edge to it. Like it just hits harder. It has like a metal tone to it.
It's like they were trying to do their own thing, but trying to stick as closely as they could to the formula we already
Well, it's
knew.
the same composer that for all the movies.
Right,
but
right.
I just feel like by this sixth one, he's kind of gone, let's mix it up a bit.
Let's mix it up.
And I think he got creative, and I really liked the music in this one. I think he's outdid himself with the, and I think like again when with the ladies hacking off her arm, with these going around the merry-go-round, the kiss carousel, like all of the music here just like matched with the edits. It really heightens the energy and the notion, and like honestly, I burst out laughing during this sequence because, and I think it was because the tension and the music and the situation just hit that point where it's either you laugh or cry.
That's it. I was almost to cry. He was pissing himself laughing.
It just became the laughter until the final blast, and he walks out, gets the key, and off to the next trap.
It's that look on his face though when he grabs the key, like he is so unhappy. He is so unhappy. Is he unhappy with where he is, all the choices that he's made in his life? Probably a mixture of both.
6 ride the carousel, but only 2 can get off. The decision of which to survive falls upon you.
But he grabs his next key. He moves on to the kind of the final area, and like I said, we've been following Hoffman. He's taking out all of the agents. He's getting ready for the final part of the game.
The film pulls a fast one on you as well here, where I'm like, why? Like, again, for me, I can't quite make sense of it.
Right, okay.
The son is to the mother, like, why are we here? And she's like, we're here because of your father.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to William, and you're like, oh, so that's his family that's trapped in there, because he was also told by Jigsaw, if you don't do this, you'll never see your family again. The family in there. But then we find out that that's the family of the guy that he denied insurance to that died. But I was like, well, how does she know that they're in there because of their father?
Because
how long ago did that happen to now?
Because she probably recognises Easterton as the insurance broker.
That's a stretch.
I know it's a stretch, but it's also
because like when she looks at that TV monitor, I'm like, how does she tell that's her husband from there?
But it's also like, why grab the sister?
Because she was in the movie earlier, and so we need to kind of tie the stories together.
Tie the stories on, but why put acid in her room? What was she gonna do with her acid? She literally, just has to watch. Like I said, Hoffman's done all of his things. Jill's getting all of her stuff prepared. Easterton's getting towards the final room, and as he walks in, he is confronted by the family. He sees his sister, the reporter, and they're so happy to see each other, and he was so worried about her, blah, blah, blah. Which, is the movie's way of saying, look, he's bad, but he's a human being with a life. So while you've been sitting there laughing and fucking crying about how awesome the killings are, these are still normal people as
human
beings, and so then you're confronted with the wife and the son who their dad has died, and so the guy playing the kid played Roderick in fucking Tales of a Wimpy Kid or something.
Right.
Fucking the kids movie.
I don't know. This kid looks like he's been wanting to kill someone since he was like 6 years old.
Mate, honestly.
I don't know why.
He's got the same look in Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Right.
When he's picking on his brother.
Yeah.
Where he's just like, oh, and the thing is, I watched Saw 6, then went and watched Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and while I'm watching it, I'm like, he's going to kill his brother. It makes the movie so much more darker. So now I'm rewatching this, and the mum, she confronts Easterton, and he's sorry, he's upset, and she's like, I can't do it. I can't kill him. And then all of a sudden, this boy's there, and he's like, I can't bang! And you're like, whoa, mate, come on!
And this contraption swings down, it injects him into the back, and then the acid starts melting him away.
It injects acid into his back. Like, you're sat there conveying the sort of, right, okay, he's an insurance broker, and so if he survives that, and survives that, and survives that, and survives that, then acid.
Yeah.
What the fuck, Jigsaw? Like, acid will definitely do it unless the mum lets him live.
Slowly. Very
Yeah,
slowly.
oh man, but it's a good effect.
Yeah, I liked it.
It's so
like
good.
everything melting down. No, I also have a problem with the trap's contraption itself.
Yeah.
Especially considering the trap only worked because he was pressed up against the bars pleading with the family. If he was all the way at the other side in front of Jill's cage, that trap would have swung down, maybe clonked him on the back of the head, but it would have just swung round and he would have missed it.
But maybe there was two. Maybe that's why his
We
sister...
don't see two.
No,
We
I know.
only
We
see
don't.
the
We-
one
I
that swings
know,
only one
I know,
way.
but we don't need... We like.
I'm like,
why
oh,
is
well,
she-
because I thought, like, Jigsaw told him, like, you've got a plan for every possibility. Didn't plan that one very well. We kind of guess he just knew psychologically that that's where he would be. So
That
only needs to swing that
the
way.
mum and son would, the mum and Easton would at least talk.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, while they talk, if she pulls the switch, this will come
Yeah.
down. You know, and maybe maybe he would have killed the sister. I don't know because
it's not over yet, though.
we're getting to the end. Hoffman has figured that he has stopped everything that he can. And then he's finally confronted by Jill.
He sits on an electric chair.
Yeah, he does. He fucking just gets zapped, doesn't he?
That was lucky for Jill.
And Jill, which makes me question if she was actually involved in some of the other earlier traps. She's just so quick.
Yeah.
Ties him to the chair, gets the fucking bear trap, slaps it on his head. Like, they're still in the police station, aren't they?
I've no idea.
I assume so, because of where the next movie. I'm pretty sure the next movie continues. But he gets the bear trap on him, and she just pulls the timer. And her intention is to kill Hoffman.
She says it's Jigsaw's final test for him, but yeah, it's like pretty
Which
intent to kill him.
I was like, I don't believe so. I don't believe so, unless Jigsaw's major plan was, look, I know Hoffman's going to betray me. I know he's going to use Amanda against me, because that's what we see that in flashbacks in this movie from Saw 3 and previous interactions between Hoffman and Amanda, is that he's like, I know you were there with Cecil. And I don't believe Jigsaw knows. So
It's a pretty
I'll
big
tell him
moment for the film, but there's no real answer as to how Hoffman came to that information, unless he was sat in the back of the car
yeah.
with the two of them.
I mean, I only assume because he's a detective, he works at the police station, he investigated these things, and he must have been investigating the Saw killings.
Oh, well, yeah.
I assume Cecil and Amanda's thing was before Seth.
Oh, yeah, of course. It had to be, because there was no Jigsaw killings at that point.
But that's it. So he would have been looking at, and it, he would have had to have questioned people. So he knew the information. I also believe Jigsaw knew this information. So Hoffman using this is fucking useless. Other than the writers wanting possibly Costas Mandylor to properly become the next Jigsaw, but they weren't too sure of it. So they filmed an entirely different ending where he's almost killed, because they're not sure how the fans would
According
take
to Costas, they filmed an ending where he died, because he didn't know whether he survived the movie or not, because of how many endings they shot for this film.
So personally, I wanted this one to be the final one. Mm-hmm. I love a horror franchise for going as long as you can, but you can burn yourself out. And I wanted him to die to be, and just like the first one, because Jill slams the door, game over, bang, and you're like, oh my god, it's over.
They said the thing.
They said it, yeah. But he manages to. Oh, he breaks his thumb.
He breaks his bloody hand.
He breaks his hand. He breaks it, gets out of the
and
trap.
And then somehow uses his completely mangled and broken hand to release the straps on the other one.
Yeah.
That's bloody stupid.
But then he's this bear trap is going to pop. And so he jams the jaw
smashes
part
through the
mechanism
glass into the metal.
In the metal bars in this window. And so when it pops, it pops, but it jams. And so it rips his jaw.
Yeah.
And then he struggles to
release
remove
it.
the trap, drop it on the floor, has his roar.
And left screaming in the dark.
Wherever
he is.
And the movie ends.
Yeah.
Pretty fucking intense. I fucking loved the ride. I mean, like, it was just... I know exactly what you mean. As a film analyst, you sit there and you'll just spot continuity error after continuity error, bad acting on top of bad acting. but it's a horror movie franchise, and so if I'm looking for good acting, I'll go watch a Steven Spielberg movie. If I want to watch people get kind of fucked up and mangled, I'll watch a Saw movie. You know?
Then what were your favourite scenes in
Oh
Saw
man,
6?
it's got to be all the once again all of those traps. Again, the traps just have gotten bigger and better and more crazy. Like I said, that merry-go-round trap is. I don't even know how some of the mechanics work in the traps. They just the timing it would take to build it, to test it, to work it would take fucking months to just make sure that shotgun trap stops. So there's somebody sat there and the shotgun fires. I mean, what happens if he put his hand in there and the mechanism didn't move and he accidentally shot an extra person but still fucked up his hand? But the movie just. Like the woman cutting her arm off at the beginning, you know, you're putting a trap against somebody and they're fatter than you. What are you going to do? Are you going to lose a body part? You know, like the acid trap is a great special effect. Yeah, I know the crushing one with the cleaner is a little bit too much, but the cleaner was just shoved in there because the movie needed a second person. I mean, you honestly could have just had Easterton on his own. You're fit, you're careful. Let's see how, if you can hold your breath for 3 minutes, then the latch will be unlocked. Boom, you didn't need the cleaner in there.
Right.
You didn't need him to shoot the fucking security guard. You just had him in there to make horror tropes stick.
Yeah, just to up the body count.
Just up the body count. I kind of like the investigation stuff, but as Gary said, the investigation stuff is so loose and it's just kind of tacked in on there to keep the characters of the police involved, that you're like, fucking hell, no wonder Jigsaw's gotten away with all this shit for so long, because literally there's like 3 police officers and 2 of them are FBI agents from another fucking district. I don't know. Gary?
Yeah, I've got a couple of favourite scenes in the film. I quite like the opening trap, or it's not really a trap, it's the pound of flesh sequence.
Yep.
So yeah, that was pretty well done. I thought both of the actors did a pretty good job there, so I enjoyed that sequence. Gets you right back in the mindset and mood for the next hour and a half of what's to come, you know? I guess it's trying to be a bit of a jump scare, but it made me laugh all the same. And that's before we get the 2 hanging people, we get Billy drops down and smashes into the glass. The Billy doll, full puppet.
Yeah.
And the full puppet also gets to deliver the rules about what's to happen next. I was like, yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like that. I've written this down because it was kind of just a thing that annoyed me, but we did just talk about it, and that was how did Hoffman come to know that Amanda was with Cecil the night that Gideon died? I like the film, considering Saw likes to constantly show you and tell you how everyone came to know certain things. Like, maybe I missed something, but it just seems like a bit of an oversight here.
You know it, and I know it. So do exactly as I say. Kill Lynn Denman, or I will tell John what you did.
It's not a favourite scene by any means, but a moment as well. Like, because it's rare, I guess, for a Saw movie to have a post-credits scene.
Oh, yeah.
But at the end of this one, it follows Amanda walking up to where Corbett is imprisoned, waiting to be rescued by Hoffman. Jeff's daughter.
Right, yeah.
And Amanda is telling her, do not trust the person who rescues you. And she repeats that. I was like, well, that didn't pay off anywhere yet. Is that paying off in the next movie? Like, are they really going to believe that this little girl would know that Hoffman was the one responsible?
Possibly because they're hoping to set up stingers for sequels, because they know that the sequels are coming, but are the sequels going to pay off?
Yeah, it was just like they just, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, how much is the studio willingly going to give them for another sequel?
Yeah.
You know, unless they set up these things.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess, the shotgun carousel trap was pretty damn memorable. And I guess if there's one other sequence that, it's not memorable or favourite, but it's the sequence that just annoyed me so much, and that was the trap for Hoffman by Erickson and Perez bringing him in there.
Yeah.
Just like, why did you bring him in here?
Yeah.
Ian, do you recommend Saw 6?
I do recommend Saw 6, but only to those people who've made it through the other 5 movies and are wanting to see where it goes. We are kind of trailing off the wagon trail at the moment of kind of good Saw movies, but we've still got at least one left. Costas, Mandylor. You're no James Remar. You really do try to hold this Hoffman character together, and I meant to do this for the review to find out more roles that Costas Mandylor has done that I could watch to see how his acting holds up in comparison to this series. And I never got round to it. So for me, at least, like I said, he's no James Remar, but he's holding these few movies together. Which kudos to this guy. You know, if he's never had a real chance at being the lead actor in a role, and he's just doing it in a horror franchise where your director and writers are chopping changing as the movies go on, but they're just carrying new scripts and you're just holding it together with what you got. Good job. You know, it's not his fault that he walked into this stupid trap with Erickson and Perez. It was the writers who thought, we've got to get Hoffman in this situation. He holds it off. He kills them all. Yeah. Fucking kudos. I do like the little fucking bit at the end where he rips his face. And in fairness, that kind of sets up the change in Hoffman for the next movie. He's acting better. Costas Mandylor is acting better than the woman who's playing Joe Tuck. You know, her stuff is probably the weakest stuff throughout the series, because it's the movie language, the movie writers or language is way of saying, look, Jigsaw wasn't such a bad guy. He had a wife and a kid, and I'm like, she's not showing that to me. She's no saint. She's no saint. She's showing that she's just upset as him, and she might have actually been involved at some point. We just haven't seen at this point, and everything that we haven't seen could exist, because Saw movies like to go, oh, by the way, we need to write this in because we didn't have it in the last movie, so we kind of need to shove it in there. I'm not going to hold it against you if you stopped at number 2. I'm not going to hold it against you if you think I'm fucking stupid for following this series, but I am going to fist bump you if you're a horror fan and you are following it with us.
I'm still gonna recommend Saw 6. It delivers exactly what you want within this franchise by providing ever-increasing amounts of gore and the nastiest torture devices and traps yet. As a standalone film, you get to watch a bunch of horrible health insurance salespeople get blasted and toyed with some moral lesson attempts to teach them the error of their ways when they're not dead. It's a film to watch bad people have bad things done to them, even if all you did was smoke all your life. The rest of the narrative is rather silly, and it oversteps disbelief into near parody. As the detectives catching up with Hoffman was woefully painful to watch, it became rather funny. You can't take this seriously anymore. It's so unbelievable. Yet the twists and surprises were interesting enough to keep that soul running, that it keeps you invested just enough to see how it ultimately plays out. Saw 6 keeps the tradition of jump edits, though slightly toned down, plenty of cool edits and scene changes and decent cinematography, and as I said, the score by Charlie Clouser might be the best yet. Much more horror themed and also much heavier with a little rock or metal sounding. I think it worked really well. So yeah, I don't like a lot of the writing, but the plot I think is interesting and the film was entertaining. So if you made it this far, you're pretty much set for Saw 3D. You know what? Actually, I take it all back. I don't recommend the film at all. You know why?
Why?
Because they set up a piranha tank. Piranhas in a Saw movie. They set it up and it doesn't pay off. So, no, don't recommend Saw 6, actually. The game has come full circle. Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
Oh, well, that's it, isn't it? It's over! You motherfucker!